Hi, third graders, it's Mr. Barrett. Today is day 9, changing decimals into some common fractions. So we've done 9 days now of studying decimals and how they behave using the familiar idea of money. The chapter before this, y'all did a lot of great work on fractions, what they mean, how they work, numerators, denominators, all of that. Today we're going to try and take the first steps into bridging between those two huge realms of math, decimals and fractions, by trying to write some of our decimals, our money value of decimals, in fraction form and our fractions in decimal form. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to split $1 into several equal groups, different types of equal groups, and I'll explain that in a second, to explore the connection between decimals and some common fractions. Today we're going to need quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies, small cups, whatever you're using to organize them, paper and pencil, and the day 9 activity page, and I'll show you how to make that right now if you're not going to print it off from your team. So the first thing we need for our day 9 activity page is our title in the top left-hand corner. Day 9, decimals to common fractions, and a space for our name over on the side. And the first thing that we're going to do is create a section where we can write some of our common fractions, and then we're going to leave a blank for the decimal form of that fraction. It's something that we're going to write very first at the top of our header of our page, but we're not going to fill it in until kind of the end of our activity today. But so I'm going to start over here on the left side, and I'm going to say 1 equals, and then I'm going to leave a little blank about that. Then I'm going to say 1/2, which is a common fraction. You know really well, I'm sure. We say that all the time, half of something. I know you guys studied it in your last chapter. Half equals, we're going to leave a blank right there. And then we're going to say 1/4 equals blank. And 1/5 equals blank. And finally, we're going to say 1/10 equals blank. Okay, and like I said, this is going to kind of be the header. Maybe we'll even put a box around it. On the PDF version, it does have a big box around this top one. And after we get done with each one of our fractions and splitting it up into groups, we're going to then go write a final answer up there at the top. So we'll leave it blank for now. Now what I want you to do is right underneath it, about right here, I'd like you to write $1, kind of centered in the page. $1. And a big old box, just about the same size as this one. And now what I'd like you to do is split that box exactly in half. Just like that. Okay. Then we're going to move down a bit. And we're going to write $1 again. Another big box. And this time we're going to split this guy into 4 equal pieces. And I'm going to show you a little trick to splitting things into 4 equal pieces. I'm going to actually split it in half just like I did before. And then I'm going to split each one of these halves into halves. Just like that. Now we have 4 equal pieces to make $1. And another thing I'd like to say a lot, and I'm just going to take a second to explain here, is 3 lines split inside of a bar make 4 equal pieces. 1 line inside of a bar makes 2 equal pieces. And I say that because a very common mistake is a lot of times when I ask students to say, hey, make 4 equal pieces. We go inside that box and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, make 4 lines. Well, 4 lines make 5 equal spaces or 5 equal boxes. This is 1 less than you might think you need. Just to review again, 1 line divides a box into 2 equal pieces. And 3 lines that I made inside this box, you can count them 1, 2, 3, makes 4 equal spaces. That's a handy tip that may come in handy more than you think it would in math class. Okay. Now, if you just move your page down, I'm using 2 little here. Below that, if you still have room, or on a new page if you need, we're going to write $1. Make our big old box. And this time I'm going to split it into 5 equal pieces. Now let's see what we just said was, it's always one less line than you might think you need. So we're going to draw 4 lines here, and that's going to make my 5 equal boxes. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. How did I do? That's about equal, Maybe this one's a little bit small, but that's okay. These are going to be equal-ish boxes. $1 split into 5 equal pieces. And then finally, we got one more left. We're going to do $1. And this one we're going to break into 10 equal pieces. This one's going to be a bit tricky. I'm actually going to use the 5 I did above here. Put the lines about in the same place. So I'm going to split it up in 5. And then I'm going to split each one of these in half. Oops. I'm going to split each one of these 5 in half. And that's my 10 equal boxes. Let's check. I drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines. And that gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 equal boxes. It worked. That's great. Okay, now I want one thing I actually forgot. What I want you to do inside of this box, I want you to write 1/2 and 1/2. Okay, that's going to show us that this whole dollar was split into into halves, really, right? 2 equal pieces. Inside of this box, can you think of what's going to go in there? This one was split into 4 equal pieces, so I'm going to put a 1/4 in each one. Okay. On this one, I split my box into, let's count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 equal pieces. So I'm going to label each one 1/5. And now 1/10 down here. So, oops, 1/10, 1/10. Okay, that was a lot of work, but it might be our most complex sheet we've made so far. But if you followed along with me, you did a good job. And if you need some more time, feel free to pause the video and finish it off, or rewind and go back. That's the beauty of these videos. You can always rewind and get the directions again. Okay, now we're ready to really begin our activity. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to try and think. I'm going to get my coins out now. Okay, so I've got my dimes here, right? Pennies. I'm actually going to set those aside. I won't need those yet. My quarters and my nickels. This activity could be done with just nickels, dimes, and quarters. It could also just really be done with dimes and nickels if you like. You can put the quarters away if you want. I'm going to leave them out just in case I need them. Okay. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to try and see, okay, how can I split $1 in half? This might be the easiest one, right? How can I split $1 in half? Well, a lot of us who are familiar with money, maybe if we like gumballs or gumball machines in arcades or restaurants or something, we know, hey, $1 split into 2 equal pieces, that's 50 cents a piece. Okay, so I'm going to use my quarters. I'm going to say, okay, here, 50 cents and 50 cents. That's how I would split $1 in half. 50 cents here and 50 cents here. Now here's what I want you to think about. What is 1/2 in decimal form? And we think, okay, well, 50 cents this exactly is $1/2 of $1. And 50 cents, I've learned over the last several days, is 0.50. Well, that means that 1/2 is 0.50. That's 2 different ways to say the exact same thing. $1/2 of $1 or 50 cents. 1/2 as a fraction, or 0.50, 50 hundredths. Those are the same values. So what we're going to do is go to the top of our little header here, and we're going to say, well, now I know something. 1/2 is equal to 0.50. And my friends, this is really what I was talking about before, about the bridge between these two huge pieces of math information that we've gotten a lot better at in 3rd grade. Fractions and decimals, and we study them in kind of 2 separate chapters. We see them as these 2 separate things, but there's actually a bridge between them. there are parts, fractions, and decimals that mean the exact same thing, and they could be written in either way. And here maybe a statement as third graders of that connection between those two things. 1/2 equals 0.50 or 50 cents. 1/2 is 50 cents. 1/2 is 0.5, 50 hundredths, 5 tenths, any of those names. That's pretty cool. Okay, let's try $1, and this time we're going to try and split it into 4 equal parts. And this might be another one. I'm just going to skip this one. I want you to think about it. Do you know 4 of something that equal $1 exactly? I think you might. So what I'd like you to do is use your coins and put them, maybe 1 coin in each one, or maybe a couple coins that make a value. And then make sure if you add up 4 of those exact same type of values, it has to be the same amount in each one, just like I had up here with 50 cents and 50 cents. If you put the same amount in each one of these 4, can you get it to equal $1? If so, just take a look at one of them then and write that decimal form right here. I'll give you a hint, it's going to start 0 point and something. That's not much of a hint, but that'll help you get started at least. Okay, now on to a couple more challenging ones. How about 5 equal groups that equal $1? Now, I'm not going to spoil this one. I really want you to think about it, but I'm gonna make an error. I'm going to do something that's not right. Okay, so I've a feeling that as I get to a 5th, that this is going to be pretty small. So I'm gonna just try something. I'm going to say maybe it's 15 cents. Okay, so what I'm going to do is going to look pretty good, but it's not going to be right. So beware of that. I'm making an error here. Okay. Well, maybe not even making an error, but I'm not going to arrive at a final answer. I'm still working on it. I'm just going to show you maybe my first try at it. 15 and 15 and 15 and 15 and 15. There's 2 things I love about this. Number 1, all 5 groups are filled up. I've really, done that part of it correctly. I filled up each one of the 5. I got the correct number of groups. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups. I also have the same amount in each group. That's another essential piece to writing these as fractions, is that we actually have the same amount in each group. I've got 15 cents, 15 cents, 15 cents, 15 cents, 15 cents. Okay, so 2 of my essential pieces of doing this correctly are completed. I've got 5 equal groups, and I've got the same amount in each group. Those are essential parts, and I've done that correctly. Now the last piece is, does it equal $1? Well, let's see. I'm going to decide to count my dimes first and then go in and count my nickels. We'll see. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75. Darn. Now I know something. 1/5 of 75 is 15. That's an interesting math fact I wasn't expecting to learn today as a 3rd grader, but there it is. Sadly though, $1, when I split it into 5 equal groups, is not 15, because this is 75 cents split into 5 equal groups. So sadly, I cannot go fill in yet that 1/5 is 0.15 or 15 cents, because it's not. This proves that. It's not. $1 split up into 5 equal groups is not 15 cents. So my question to you now is, well, what is it? Can you come up with a different value that goes in each one of those 5 that actually equals $1? And when you do, because I know you will, it'll probably take you several tries, by the way, but I think you can do it if you keep sticking with it. 0 point, what's it going to be? What do you think it's going to be? And I want you to see if you can figure it out. And I want you to do the same thing with 1/10, okay? I'm going to make another error there. I'm going to say, okay, well, maybe I'll guess a nickel in each one of them. Okay. And I'm going to spoil it and say, if I put a nickel in each one of these, it's going to only add up to 50 cents. So that's not it. But the good thing is I would have them all filled up, and I have the same amount in each one. You also have to make sure it equals $1. So this is what that's pretty much the whole day for today, right? Is finding decimal values that equal these important common fractions of 1, 1/2, 1/4, 1/5, and 1/10. And I skipped over this one. $1 or 1 whole equals, and I think it's right here, the decimal form of that, but I'll let you fill that in, okay? 1 equals, there's not a section for that or a coin for that because it's kind of just right here. 1 whole equals $1. So you can write it in whole number form and then in decimal form with the 1.00. You can write that. Okay, so I have one challenge for those friends who really fly through this and say, oh, I've got these. 1/2, 1/4, 1/5, 1/10. We chose those because one, they're very common fractions. We see a lot in the real world. We see them all over the place in real world problems. And the other reason I chose them is because they all work really nicely with $1. They all split up, and there is a solid decimal for the hundredths, those 2 places that make them work. Okay, we call those, sometimes we call them friendly numbers, right? These numbers, 1/2, 1/4, 1/5, and 1/10 and 1 are very friendly with $1 or 100 cents. But there are some other common fractions that are not so friendly with $1, but we still see all the time in the real world and are very common fractions. So if you're looking for a challenge, hang on 1 second and I will get it ready for you. Okay, my friends, if you're looking for a challenge, here it is. I'd like you to make a new sheet. You can write this challenge at the top if you like. And I want you to put 1/3 equals and leave a blank. 1/6 equals and leave a blank. And then 1/9 equals and leave a blank. Okay? These are 3 fractions that we see all the time in the real world. They're very common fractions. Imagine how many times have you ever split something with 2 other people, 2 other your buddies? You split it into thirds, where everybody gets an equal piece, and you split it in 3 equal pieces, more or less. Okay, that happens all the time. A lot of things we know in the real world are split into thirds, but it is not a friendly number with 100. It doesn't go into 100 evenly. It doesn't go into our base 10 system very well. Which one makes it kind of a hard thing to deal with in the decimal system. But let's give it a shot. What I'd like you to do, if you're up for a challenge today, is this. Make your $1 and your big box here. Split it into 3 equal pieces. How many lines do we need to split something up into 3 equal pieces? That was 1 less than you'd expect. So 2 lines. And I want you to think, what value can I put in there? What series of coins? And this, we're going to need our pennies for this one, I'll tell you that. What amount can I put in each one of these to get to $1? Here's a little warning. There isn't a value in pennies and nickels and dimes and quarters that is going to make this work. But there is a value that will come really, really, really close. That's why this is an extra challenge today. The ones I gave you from before work really nicely and they have a solid answer and they'll equal $1 exactly. These will not equal exactly $1, but there are some values that will get you really, 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 really close. And I want you to see if you can find what those are. And I'm going to make one little change. Because there isn't a value that will equal $1 split into 3 equal parts, this equal sign really isn't appropriate here. So I'm going to maybe teach some of you a new symbol right now. And that is a wavy equal sign that means about. And I always kind of picture somebody going, it's about, right? It's like this wavy little equal sign. That's the way I think of it. And so it means about. And again, the reason I'm putting that is because there is not a value that can be represented in dimes and nickels and pennies and quarters that will split $1 into 3 perfectly equal pieces, 100 cents into 3 equal pieces. It's not going to happen. In hundredths, that is, with pennies and dimes and nickels and quarters, but you can get pretty close. So I want you, if you're up for a challenge today, to see if you can tackle at least one of these and report back to your teacher or to me and see, tell us how it went and see what values you think in money come the very closest. Have fun.